Okay, morning everyone. Just going to mute one of our computers in here. Welcome to the Lasham Regionals 2022. It's 4 years since we've run a regionals at Lasham. I thought it was longer than that, but no, it's good to be back. Packed program today, and looking at the weather, it looks set for the next couple of days. So, welcome everybody, and quick word from our sponsors first of all. Vertigo Covers, thank you very much for supplying some canopy covers, and Applegarth for competition prizes. There may be more sponsors coming along. We haven't heard back from one or two. Fingers crossed, you have some nice prizes at the end of the comp. The team, I think most of the team is actually in here at the moment. I'm directing the comp. Colin Watt, the CFI of Lasham. Deputy Director and Met is Jordan Bridge, just waving in the background there. Airspace, Colin Rule, who's, if you've flown a competition here before, is familiar to everybody. Been here many, many years helping out. Our task setting team this year, Martin Conboy, Michael Harrison and Mark Davenport, with a combination of all during the week. Scoring and robo control, Benedict Smith, and in control, we've got Alex Conboy, ably assisted by other people during the week, and Grid Marshal, who's sorting things out for you lot out on the airfield, will be Graham. And I'm sure he'll get you away in his normal, efficient way. So first of all, church notices from Gavin.
Hi, morning everybody. Very quickly go through this so you can get on and fly. Welcome from me as well. Hope you enjoy your week here and 9 days here. If you've got any questions, come and find me or go into the office and ask, and they will find me. We'll try and sort whatever the problem is out. Safety on the ground's my priority this week. I've already stopped 2 people doing over 40 miles an hour down the Perry track this morning. Please don't. Parking, thank you very much to those who are already parking as requested in the message we put out yesterday. And I'll just go through that quickly in a second. There are a couple of areas where we can't enter by vehicles, please. I'll point those out as well in a second. And as I've said, speeding is my worst concern or biggest concern. So looking behind the clubhouse, you've got the red area. Please do not try and enter that in your car unless you have a really good reason. And if you do want to do so, you need to come and talk to me in the office first. There are barriers at either end, i.e. the eastern and western end, shown by those big black red lines. Inside that area are the showers, the loos. There are showers and loos in the end of the bunkhouse, which is a grey building, and also you can see comps control there. The yellow areas marked on this particular slide are where I would like you to park, please, when you're not flying, or sorry, when you are flying, or in the evening. And if you could please reverse park in, so because it's very congested out there, and I don't want anybody reversing out into somebody else. So please reverse park in those yellow areas only, leaving the lanes open into the caravan site. Up in front of the northern rack, please don't park in that area. You'll see the water trailer is the orange blob on the left-hand western end. And there's a row of cones there across the concrete. You can move those individually if you need to tow your glider out, but please put them back behind you. And then if you manage not to park in that area, it'll enable the rest of the club members and some of your competitors as well to actually get their gliders out of the trailers and rig them if they want to. Just pointing out the showers, just so you can see there on that slide and come back and look at it again. I think you all know where those are now. Thank you.
Thanks, Gavin. Right, director's notes. So a couple of members just asked me to remind people that if parking out overnight, could you just leave a space by the water tank so that they can fill up early morning or late evening if they want to. Flight recorder, DJ change of rules, it's 2-second intervals to be set to. Just be aware of the TMZ to the south of Lasham. Colin Rule will talk about airspace issues and TMZs in his briefing, but there is one close to us. Engine test has changed in the BJ rules. It's now 60 seconds minimum. We're not going to enforce that and be checking the timing of everyone, but just a reminder. In the previous years, or before the airspace, we've had specific release points for towing. What we're operating this year is just north or south, and it'll be somewhere in that area to try and spread you out a bit. We don't want to be sort of towing everybody to the same particular point and risk mid-air collisions. And just a note, two-seater pilots, please let control know who is P2 in your glider. Pilot Safety Committee, and these three brave people have agreed to act as the Pilot Safety Committee: Henry Freeborn, Paul Fritsch, and Dennis Heslop. Our competition stewards for this comp will be Fandy Darlington, Pete Masson, and Ed Foxon. You might have noticed when we showed the initial slide of the competition officials that there was nobody nominated for safety. At the end of the day, we've got the CFI, the deputy CFI, and the safety officer flying in the comp. So I think we'll deal with any safety issues that we need to as we go along, folks. So we didn't feel there was a need to nominate a specific person. Over to Colin Rule for the airspace.
Hello everyone, here we are again. So we'll get straight into this because I know you all want to get flying. It is important, so please do take a moment just to go through it with me. Current airspace file, if you haven't already picked it up, it's version 2, available on Soaring Spot. Any changes we'll confirm at each competition brief. If you require additional information, let us know and we'll do our best to provide it, either via the chat function on here, we'll get back to you as quickly as we can, or if need be, look into control and ask the question. We'll try and sort that out. Parachuting sites. All these are permanent penalty zones and will be considered active for the whole part of the competition. That's Weston on the Green, Hinton in the Hedges, Sibson, Langer, Chatteris, and other sites which are published on the 500,000 map will be considered active unless we can actually confirm that they're inactive. And there's one today which we will be talking about in a moment. Aldermaston and Airfield, that's restricted 101 and restricted 104. We've got a slight relaxation as we've had for a number of years now for flight within a reduced footprint. You should have in the airspace file a reduced footprint for those two restricted sites. Within the boundary of the establishment, which is known as fences within the, I think, airspace file, it's the normal as published, in other words, 2,000 feet above ground. Outside of that, it becomes free airspace and the normal rules of the air apply. Couple of caveats: no landings to be made within the establishment. You don't really end up glowing in the dark. No photography of the nuclear installations. That's a very much a no-no. Not using turning point cameras now. And you must have a glider with a better LOD 30 to 1. Well, yeah, I hope you do. All UK danger areas, prohibited areas, are penalty zones during the competition, with the exception of those which are applicable to helicopters only. That's note 2 on the relevant chart. Compton Box, there's a lot of information here. We're not going to use the Compton Box today, so I won't talk about it in any great detail. It is in the competition rules. Your homework tonight is to read and study that in case we use it tomorrow, but I'm not guaranteeing that. So we'll quickly go through that. Now, ATZs, aerodrome traffic zones. You may not fly in an ATZ without contacting the relevant owner, that's the right term, of the ATZ. If If you have to land at any airfield, please try and give them a call. We're going to give you a list of frequencies on the task sheets, and it will be repeated on this briefing. If you need to land there, you need to land there. We won't penalise you if you go into an ATZ, provided you land there in an expeditious manner. Otherwise, we would expect you to contact the ATZ owner, and obtain permission. That's not quite the right term, but let them know that you're in the area. ATZs are 24/7, particularly military, and I don't mean MATSs, I mean ATZs around military airfields. They are 24/7, very definitely. And you probably won't get any answer on the radio at the weekends, but there we are. We have to live with that. So moving on, Odium ATZ, just to the north of us. For various reasons, that is a penalty zone. It's a permanent penalty zone for this competition. Our neighbours, and it's worth talking about these, Popham, frequency there and will be on your task sheet. They're very happy to see you. If you want an aerotow out of there, they will charge you a landing fee for both you and the tug. But if you do land there, they are pretty busy, and normally pretty busy at weekends on a nice weather like this. So if you land there, would you please pull off the side of the runway, or taxi off if you like into the longer grass. It means they can keep the airfield buzzing, basically. Brimpton the same, not so much opportunity to pull off there. They don't have quite so much room. And Odium, frequency there for the weekend. I know it's a penalty zone, but in extremis, no one is going to worry too much about that. So a reminder about the radio frequencies that are going to be in use for this comp. Start line, 129.890. Finish line, 131.030, and the tugs will also be on that. Please prefix your calls with Lasham. That does two things. We don't get mixed up with anyone else who might be using the 129.890 frequency. And it also means we don't get a clipped call sign from you. We might get Lasham clip, we can live with that, but we do like to know who we're talking to. Transponders, and this comes back to what Colin said earlier about the TMZ to the south of us. If you carry a transponder, you're free to use it to squawk any conspicuity code or listening squawk or whatever. However, you may not use it to enable you to enter that TMZ or any other TMZ that you may encounter en route, because that, in the competition rules, gives you an undue advantage. So you can't put a TMZ squawk on to enable that, you get that bit of airspace. Task notes for today then. These are all published on the written ones, but we'll run through them. Earliest first launch will be 1100 local. Minimum finish altitude, 921 feet, 300 feet above the aerodrome level. Start channel again, 129.890. 131.030 for finishing. Prefix all calls Lasham. Compton Box is closed. We're not going anywhere near it today. And a reminder that it's version 2 of the airspace file. A reminder of the permanent penalties. Initial penalty zones, none. Advisory navigation warnings. This is where I try to second guess where you might be likely to put your wingtip. Bristol CTA, Campbell ATZ. You're going through the tail feathers of the Gloucester approach path to the runway 09, I think it is. So that's Gloucester IAP. Be aware, that's all I can say. Delta 216, Delta 147, and Romeo 105 are all close to your track. South Sony Para is not active and will not be scored as a penalty zone. And again, we've given you the ATZs near track. It's not an exclusive list, but that's ones we think might be useful to you. Given you a few other airfield frequencies. Of course, you're not going to land there, are you? But I have given you Oaksey Park, Membry, Charlton Park, Nipsfield, and the Mind for some of you. That's it on that. And just to reiterate, the Compton Box is closed. So back to Colin or Jordan for the weather.
Okay, it'll be over to Jordan with the weather. This is where our seamless Zoom. It's going to work. Jordan assures me it's going to work.
Let me see that.
Yep.
Well, good morning, everybody. Hopefully my colleagues can mute their microphones briefly.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, we muted. Just about. Actually, just fully muted. Excellent. No, I can still hear myself. Cool. One. Stand by. Is that any better? Right, sorry about that, folks. So looking at the weather today for Saturday, the 28th of May. High pressure is building from the north and is starting to introduce a sort of a northeasterly flow across the country, mostly on the ground looking about a northerly wind. Good soaring conditions starting to build in and widely across sort of the west, the northwest and the south. We're already looking at good conditions. Those winds are looking in the region not too strong, sort of 10 knots mostly across most of the area. Yeah, generally for the north, no real significant weather. Satellite picture. Nice clear start. We've already got some cumulus a little bit earlier than we were expecting over the country. Out to the west, already cumulus starting to build over the Mind, and I've seen webcam photos there that already it's starting to build quite nicely. It's going to be slightly poorer out towards the northeast today, and that has decided the task direction that we're sending you in. Top temperature today, we're looking somewhere in the region of about 16, 17 degrees. And dew points sat in the region of around 5 or 6. Currently at Lasham, we have a temperature of 13.5 degrees, and already the dew point is starting to split away, showing that we should get some an increase in cloud base throughout the morning and beyond. So on to the data you're all interested in. Starting with the potential flight distance for today. Looking out to the northwest, this is for an 80-metre class glider. Looking relatively nice all the way out towards the Mind, down in towards the Cotswold edge, and yeah, as the tasks that you have received are based pretty much on this PFD. There's a definite clear line though, sort of through Oxfordshire heading up into Cambridgeshire, where the weather is a lot poorer. Chance of overdevelopment coming in from that direction. So starting at what we've got at the moment. Once it loads. This doesn't actually show the queue that we should have already, which is out there, but we've got a queue probably around 2.5, maybe even 3,000 feet at the moment. And as we go through the morning, By the time you get launching, probably 3,500 feet above here, if not maybe slightly more, with reasonable Q. And going through the day, Q getting above Lasham probably to around 4,500, maybe 5,000 feet. But into Wales, looking at 5,500 feet towards the middle part of the day, maybe even 6,000 feet in isolated spots, with sort of 3 to 4/8 Q across most of that area. Towards the coasts, which may be a factor for the AATs if you're being very brave, it does sort of blue out a little bit. No chance of any sort of Severn Valley effect coming in from the west based wind direction today. And the day should last a fair long time. By what time is this? This is sort of 6 o'clock. We've still got cumulus here, sort of 5,500 feet, 6,000 feet. And it's still going even at 7 o'clock. So maybe even 7:30. So really a reasonable soaring window today for all of you going on the big tasks. Cloud distribution. Looking at cloud distribution, we have already cumulus, and I imagine that will be fairly consistent across most of the northwest into the task area. The overdevelopment that you can see here is mostly held back sort of Birmingham, Husbos area. There might be the odd bits where it gets a little bit more cloudy in the mountains, but I'm hoping that's going to be fairly isolated. And as you can see here, the top turn point should still have Q, and I think this is probably under predicting some of the Q anyway. Let's have a look, just compared to SkySight, which is just showing the amount of cloud we're going to get. This is around 2 o'clock. So you can see sort of east of that line, probably east of us and up to the northeast, it might get a little bit too cloudy. But out into just north of the Brecon Beacons, up to the northwest of Gloucester, reasonable amounts of Q, not too much, other than the odd area that you can see, which is a bit more shaded in on here. So all in all, a fantastic day. Site forecast, just to give you an indication of thermal strengths. When we launch, you're probably expecting 3 knots, probably more in the cores, up to around sort of 4,000 feet by the time, 4.5 by this time the start sector opens. And that sort of trend continues with thermals continuing to build throughout the day, and not really petering off until, as I said, around 7 o'clock this evening. No chance of a sea breeze at Lasham, and a top temperature of 17.5 degrees with dew point at 5. Just compare that to Cheltenham, which is sort of halfway for most of you in the task area. Very similar, maybe the odd chance it might be a bit more shallow, the Q, but it's 5,000 feet. And again, thermal strengths of at least 3 knots, probably slightly more than that. And that wind direction remaining from that north to the slight northeast direction. Soundings, this is Fairford at 12 o'clock as you go past, or just before you go past actually, 4,000 feet with shallow Q there with a nice inversion, sort of capping those thermals. And looking also at a bit further up, Newtown, which is sort of near Shobden, again, sort of 5,000 feet this afternoon. This is 2 o'clock with reasonable Q. The chance that there could be a bit more than 4/8 Q at times, but hopefully that chance fairly limited. METARs, Gloucester showing at the moment they've got 2,500 feet. When they reissue their TAF, it will probably show a little bit more than that. Just have a look at Bryce Norton again. A few clouds, 2.5. It's clearly going to be more than that. And if we look, let's just have a look at another one. Look at Farnborough. Again, scattered at 4.5. So I think that's going to be generally about where we're expecting it today. With a surface wind on the ground, north-northeasterly, between about 5 and 10 knots. So SkySight being very clever and already knowing what the task is, shows on here. I'll be very interested to see if anybody can do it. That if you flew that task exactly, you'd be able to do it at 128 kph. Quite exciting. But yeah, you can see the task overlaid on here, maximising the most amount of that soaring area. So to sum up, a very good day. I believe there are people already trying 750 attempts currently. Northeasterly wind, surface wind about 5 knots, up at height to 10 knots, good convection up to 5,500 feet, and the soaring day ending at around 7:30 or so. And there is no significant weather. And that is it from the man hiding from the microphone. And Colin, if you want to share your screen to take it off me.
Right, it's back to me, and
Just share. Yeah, take.
1,400 feet, D1 to A.
and on we go. Right, to the tasks. Okay, folks. So task sheets can be downloaded from RoboControl. Should have received them by email. Just let us know if you haven't for any reason. And printed sheets are available in Control. I think they've been going like hotcakes, but I suspect club members have been taking those as well. Regionals task A, AAT, 4 hours out into Wales, the Mind area. And the B task is a fallback of exactly the same, down to 3.5 hours if we don't think it's quite developing the way it should. The smaller guys tasks, 332k for the A task. Lasham, Tetbury South. I've never heard of Hope under Dynamo. Avebury, Mitchell Deaver, and back to Lasham ARP. And if we again don't think it's quite going as planned, just reduce the similar task to slightly shorter 246k via Dursley, Birdlip, and Pusey. More conventional turning points that I actually recognise. Important bits: airfield layout and finishing. Okay, so just a quick note on this is a slide from the Nationals last year. Access round from the south side, if anybody's down there, is always going to be via the edge. Comp flying is confined to the runway and south side, and club flying on the north. Please keep to the edges if you're driving around while we've got flying activity. Club operations will be taking place from the north side, and they're already launching the club grid. And we're launching 27. We'll be on the main runway launching the comp on 27. And let's go back one. And once we've launched, I suspect we've been briefing the club pilots that we may well be changing to 09 for club operations. Certainly for competition finishing, it will be 09 finishes from the finishing ring on the main runway or the south side grass areas. South of a line from really 2EE to the Gliding Heritage Centre, that ground is quite rough. You need to be a little bit careful there. Don't land with water on if you're in that area, but the rest of the ground here south of the runway is fine. Finishes straight in and land long, roll to the end. And we're very, very aware that there's a large number of club members who are flying in the comp, and a lot of them have got their gliders, trailers on the north side. So you're going to be towing back along the north side, probably at the same time as club members are going to be landing. So just keep a good lookout and try and stick to the edges. If in doubt, stop. So yeah, we're active on the north side. Parking out, yeah, gliders on the north side grass, yeah, don't block the water bowsers, but I think it's inevitable everybody's going to park there just for the next couple of days. Please be aware also that don't block the area near the hangar, because there's club flying taking place tonight and during the week. and they'll be landing back and even get access to the hangars. Finishing, call 10K, it's Lasham finish frequency 131030, which is also our club flying frequency. You will get a response. You've got to submit your trace 1 hour after landing through robo control. Any questions? How are we doing on the questions, Michael? Do we publish Q&A? No.
Not required to.
Not required. Didn't read it in the rules.
No.
So the answer is no on that one. Is that D147? Someone asking about that? Yes, it is a penalty zone.
Yep.
D216, penalty zone. R105.
Yep.
Yeah.
High growth.
High growth, penalty zone. We don't have a local letter of agreement with that. I think Aston Down do, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, folks, we'll leave the chat facility open for a little bit. First launch, it says on the task sheet, not before 11. We'll take a look at the conditions. Just remember, folks, this is a racing comp. We're not going for maximum distance. We've got 8 tugs, we'll get you launched really quickly. We're aware that the local area gets fairly congested, so we'll be managing that as well. Okay, see you all out on the runway.